Jessie with Vintage Remedies, and today we're going to talk about weighing herbs. A question that we always receive from either new students or students that have transferred in from other programs is, why is it so crucial to weigh the herbs? All of our textbooks, even our most basic book, the Handbook of Vintage Remedies, provides all of the measurements in weight. We don't use handfuls, we don't use scoops, we don't use cupfuls or half cupfuls or any sort of abstract measurement like that, and this is why. When you run into that traditional formula, which we've all seen, you can find it online just about everywhere, that says fill your jar halfway with herbs and then fill it the rest of the way with vodka for a tincture or glycerin for a glycerite or vinegar for an herbal vinegar, and then let it sit and then strain out the herb and you have your remedy. That's obviously the right way of making a solution, but it doesn't really tell you what you have at the end. You don't know how strong your finished product is, and you don't know how to dose it accordingly. And if you're trying to replicate results that you may have seen in a clinical trial where they're using 5 grams of a particular herb, then you don't know how to measure out 5 grams of this particular remedy because you don't know how many grams went into the remedy to begin with. And to show you an example as to why the handful doesn't work or the cup measurement doesn't work, I've got a couple of different herbs out that we use with our students. This one is ginger root, and we always use dried herbs. It's very important to use dried herbs in your remedies because the water can grow mold, and obviously that's going to be a problem with a lot of your remedies. And even if you are using fresh herbs, you're going to have to modify the weight again because the water weighs so much. So with our ginger, this is actually a ½ ounce of ginger root, and as you can tell, I could measure this out into a tablespoonful if I wanted to. It's a very small amount of ginger. Yet ginger is also a very potent herb, and you need to be careful when you're dosing it, especially if you're pregnant. So it's very important that we don't use too much of it in the solution we make. To compare that, this is slippery elm bark. Slippery elm bark is a very safe herb. It's actually related to oatmeal. Chemically, it has a lot of the same nutrients in it, and it's actually been consumed in a dish similar to oatmeal. This is also a ½ ounce, which, as you can see, is a dramatically different amount, and that's because of the density of the particular herb. Another comparison is this herb, which is tahibo. This is a very common herb. It has really great antifungal benefits. It's also a somewhat dangerous herb. You really want to dose it correctly and know exactly how much of it you're taking. You don't want to just pour some in and then haphazardly take it because you could run into trouble. This is also a ½ ounce of tahibo, and it's actually a bark, just like this one is, but because the density is different, obviously the volume is different, the overall volume. This one is one of our favorite herbs, calendula. And as you see, there is a dramatic difference in these two. But the really interesting thing is we could not even fit a ½ ounce of calendula into this container. It's only a ¼ ounce of calendula. So a ½ ounce would be twice that much. And so clearly we're going to run into issues when we start measuring by a cup or a handful or a scoop or something like that because we have such dramatic differences in volume. The only way to really be sure of how much herb you're getting in your final product and how much of it you need to take in the correct dose is to weigh it. And you can use grams, you can use ounces. That part is not as important as making sure that you're actually weighing your herb so that you know what is going into your product so that you can use it safely. And in our School of Natural Health, we go into more detail about weighing our herbs, the proper ratios. For example, if you want to make a proper tincture, there's actually a specific ratio that you would use to do that. And also how you would use each herb, what type of liquid you would use to extract the herb, how long you would want it to sit, and then of course what you would use it for safely once you've made your preparation. You can find all that information at vintageremedies.com.